Good morning, and this is your crypto day morning. Today's date comes in that of Saturday, the 9th day of February 2019. All bets trades of the like within each his own risk and their own reward. Yesterday's rally coming right up to this very short-term Fibonacci level and has retraced just a small amount. So price action on the daily nicely above the 18 average of highs. A statement is made that the attempt in reversing the trend is in place. Looking at this on first a shorter term level, we'll start off within the 4 hour as it had three nice moves, although the move higher were in short term spurts. And that's seen the price action going from 33.53 to 37.08. And here's the area in here where it started off at 3 o'clock, grinding its way higher. And really, Litecoin started everything off within a fantastic move. We'll take a look at that very shortly. And then on the short-term time frame, just an elevator, a speed elevator ride at that, and now just cruising amongst its floor. It got off on, or thus going sideways in time, and it went a floor higher than it needed to, kind of deal. So it got off the floor and basically took a smaller or a less quick elevator or escalator, maybe ride down to the lower floor. So say it thought it was supposed to go to floor 6 and it was supposed to go to floor 5, kind of analogy, meaning one small correctionary move and sideways action. And amongst the weekly term, we're still in the situation of point A low, point B high, correctionary move within it, still well above the 2015 lows, still decently and noticeably above the previous level of a key high, a point, whatever letter you want to use, high. And when I say point A high or whatever, it really is just that, a key high, key low. And therefore, it had its first move lower. There was a sideways action or descending triangle. Second leg lower, and its correctionary move is currently in place right now, as it has just been meeting up right now within this 18 average. And you can make a case for a symmetrical pattern of an uptrend line and a downtrend line, and it's doing such, of course, after the second leg lower. And removing this neutrality in here will either have a move decently higher or lower. And for a move decently higher, the first level would be where it came from, which would be roughly around the 6,000 barrier, and its congestion area is more towards the higher 6,000 level, 6,700, and the upper congestion area in at around the high $8,000 level. Now I put a line in here at 15, but as far as key supports, I'm really looking at two different levels on the downside. Really only two key legs lower and the must hold. One would be somewhere decently between 3,100 and 1,000, and the other 1,000. And thus the key area is somewhere like, you'd be looking in the 2,000s, I would think, because I'm looking at what is a decent sized move from this low in here. I think congestion area, it could maybe settle in at around 24, 2,500. And again, that's if such an event is to take place, because just because today's, or yesterday's rather, rally so magnificent, and it's doing so on a higher low from the December lows, and that's magnificent doing that when you have that correctionary move. The higher low is so important, even if it takes its sweet ass time, which of course is the case, to get things going. And a lot of times doing such is great as far as giving it the energy, the healing, what it needs. And when I say that, that's really people getting used to what the prices are, adjusting to situations, just letting things flow through. And in such, that means all the orders for buying and selling adjust to that point where people who want to buy it up big, thus by waiting, are able to do so without moving the market up as much as they would want to do. Or in other words, able to buy more for less. But at this stage here, if this rally fails, and we see weakness amongst the daily 18 average, or the leaving below the really a lot of weakness in the below 3,400, yikes kind of deal. That's next leg. I'm talking about like 2400. It's almost like it's going to the train station and it's getting us confirmation ticket for such an event. Litecoin next against Bitcoin, just keeping it going up to 126 handle, which is very nice. Since the inverted head and shoulders breakout, or roughly around the 85 handle, a nice little move to establish or to this level of the 100 to 1 ratio, or 0.01, coming back to where it came from in the middle of January, and then it made its attempt January 25th to resume the bull market, because uptrend here, this is what bull markets do, and then sideways correctionary move from this last gain, so it's leaving correctionary move, and then at the end of January into the start of February, or really the last day of January, supporting that such a thing. And then there we have it, coming back to where it came from. This is that spot I really state I hate, where, oh, what are we going to predict it's going to do? It was a pierce below this high, but it's still classified as test of previous high, getting above big gain to new leg higher. And wow, big gain sure is the case. Within the single hour time frame for this, since the move, as I was stating, 3 o'clock, this thing got going, established this level of resistance here, had this beautiful correctionary move, and has just had a magnificent run so far, supporting this 18 average. It's very overextended. It's in need of a pullback. But that doesn't have to be now, because every time you have these up moves, every single one of them, you've had the correctionary play and a rally attempt. Now this one, of course, was a lower high, so seeing this go down might have given you a little bit of concern on the lower high, but it never came close to this low. And then this high at 20 hours managed to match this one, then make a higher low here to this last little move here, matching its resistance as support. And then as you see this green candle at the 1 hour session, we can see, oh, this has got potential breaking above here. Should be a decent gain. Meh, it was a gain. It wasn't anything large. It was, in fact, it was more small than large, but it was a leg higher. And now it's correcting its move, and it's doing so in this level of resistance. Therefore, if you see this showing some weakness, you got to think two things. Maybe it's going for more of a sideways range bound. Where will support be established? We don't know that yet. Right now it's at 112, but it's only hit there once. And it's only hit this level here once as well. So sideways could be one of those actions. However, because it could be this, could be that, yada, 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 I realize that if it's breaking out, probability odds tells me we're looking at another leg higher. And on the weekly chart, when these things go, they go. So when you're talking about leg higher and where they have the potential to go, when you look at the move, this happened in December of 2017, and even more so in the spring, the start of the spring of 2017. They have some wild moves. So it's had a pretty okay one right now, but it's just that it's pretty okay. It's most certainly enough on this long-term time frame to be bullish. And with this line was where I at, that's a major must-hold support level now. Major must-hold. Because if you have a spot where you have declining move like this, and you finally flatten it out, you have, whether it's the first attempt or the third attempt, but you have the attempt established, announced, like this end of December week was, and then within it, you do what you're supposed to do. You correct successfully your price corrections or time corrections, which it did. Then you have that break, thus making it bullish. Now 18 is rising very nicely. It's the absolute must that it's got to hold this area, because if you get one move higher, especially of a good nature like this, and you get one of those like U-shaped formations, but in this case, apartment building formation, or reverse U, I guess. And then it just shows the weakness in here, breaks below the 18. That's deadly. And when I say deadly, a decent large leg lower. But again, the potential for this to keep going higher, well, where do we find next levels of resistance? Well, amongst in here, we're already at this little key point. It's at a standard break above here. And these things just have a tendency to fly. There really isn't much in this area until we get to this like 1516 level. This thing has the potential to just go if so it chooses to be the case. And when I say potential, I think it's a better way of saying might be the probability odds for such an event is so much greater than it was a while ago. For the probability odds for price action to have a move to go up to, say, we'll talk about even $89, $88, 100% move. The probability odds for that today are so much greater than it would have been on November the 12th at the exact same price point of 44, because of how the situation of this market is in place. And the probability for a 100% move from price point is most certainly the highest it has been since maybe February of 2018 up in here. Because this in here, when it was already here, it was maybe an okay chance, but not really. And then all this time in here, the chances of it bursting out in a whatever short period of time, 2 months, or 2 periods rather, so 2 weeks, never that good because of the formation of the setup. And as far as the weekly goes, this is just enough. This is a combination of two things, really. It's definitely full-fledged band flattening out. That's a given. The second one is an attempt to revert trend. It's got to get nicely above the 18. The question is this nice enough? And not yet. For I'm going to deem it a pierce above the 18 average of highs as of now. If it can get a bit higher, especially if I get up to this previous level of resistance in the 50s, then yes, then I'll consider this an attempt. And it's not a surprise for it to have a quick attempt at any given time. And when it does, and you see it formitting itself, then it's probably going to continue doing what it's doing. And that's the key thing. It's going higher. So we've had this move on the daily time frame in here after breaking this level of resistance. 4-hour term, just like we're seeing against Bitcoin, holding these moves. This thing has got the potential for a decent leg lower or decent leg lower at any time, just because of its overextendedness and its full-fledged force and statement that it's making right now that things are moving wild. It's already had a move from 32 up to 45, so that's about a 30 plus X% gain thus far. Single hour time frame, just having a very tremendous job in correcting its legs higher. Just like against Bitcoin, you have this first leg higher, nice correction via that of time, and then go up a few elevator rides higher, park back down a bit, and then make this nice little pattern, as we can see here, making nice higher lows more than anything. And now it's matching these short-term lows at about the 43 level, as we probably see much clearly on the 15-minute time frame. As so far, this support is holding up as resistance. No big deal on a bullish level, of course, if it falls below here, because it's expected to give back some of these moves. But now that we're seeing resistance established short-term, 44 3/4, and then the gap is 44 3/4 up to 45 3/4. That's the upper end of the strong suit area, where if we can see strength break it out from that price point, then we're looking at a leg higher. And we're in a bullish statement right now where the leg higher, it's just so it's so impossible for me to tell where the leg higher would be, because it could be easily at this previous level at around 50. And even if it is at 50, maybe within the next several days and weeks, it's going to go higher after that. But it could even within the next move, or 2 or 3 moves within the next couple of days, go up to 70, 80, 90. And we could see, oh, Litecoin has doubled in one day. Oh, really? Surprise, I'd be saying, or something around that nature. And when I say I'm surprised, I'd be like, well, I wasn't surprised it went higher, but wow, what a move, is the type of things I would say. Now let's quickly go over some altcoins rather. And SWT, Swarm City token, moves like this that have occurred in the past It's been going through a large downtrend, going sideways through that of time. And in here, just choppy up and down, but that's back then. What we're talking about today, it's had its move up to, unfortunately, 38.45. I have a sell order at 39 high, so I didn't get the sale, and it's already retraced back. And my mistake, my total mistake. You got to look at these order books, and when I see this on the hour time frame, a new hour should be starting pretty soon, because it's 10 o'clock as I'm doing this. I mean, this was totally my mistake, because when it was up here, I was looking on the order book, and I seen that it was like up in this higher level, like the ask was somewhere like 38 change, and there was a buy order near around 3,800, and then for a decent amount too, more than I was looking to sell and more than I owned as well. And yet there was like nothing really below down to 35, and I'm thinking, geez, the play probably here is to probably sell everything I got at 38, and then just take your buy order lower. You're probably going to hit it. So be it. And just a quick example of what I'm talking about. This is what the bids would have looked. Something in the area of like, meaning a whole bunch available. I might have owned, if there was 30,000 units, the ratio would have been me owning like 10,000. So I could have been like, okay, normally I'm trying to sell 1,500 of the 10, but I could have sold all 10 and then put my buy order down below. I think this is a very good coin for really playing the order book more effectively than I should be. So I'm going to look more into that moving forward. Now, on the other hand, thank you, Theta, for... I had a sell order at a hair below 2,200. And we can see here this high was 2,170, which meant I was unable to get that sell order. Today's high comes in at 2,200 even. So I got that sell order filled at that point. I really like how the setup of this coin is playing through. I certainly do. Magnificent how after this awesome move on the end of November, and I say awesome because I sold up there and I bought back. Just awesome to do such. And then this going sideways for a long period of time. Pretty much starting it to a degree on December the 7th, but more so on December the 13th-ish area. And attempting to get out of the sideways mode on January the 19th, over a month later. Good attempt, because you got the job done. After that attempt, then a few days of riding this 18, and then coming up to this high, now back to this 18 again for several days, breaking out above it and correcting it really well. 18 average has got a beautiful, nice up setup, what bull markets do. This general area in here, I'm going to move this line, and I'm going to delete this one completely. Don't need it anymore, at least not for now. The must hold area is pretty much around here. Must hold area. It can pierce below it, and around here means this would count too. But if it's unable to do so, then that's a failed breakout. But I do like how it's playing. It does look more to me like it's a productive move. And I have a lot of confidence right now, or probability odds are a lot better than the average setup of breaking out for this one as it's going through. Single hour time frame, or let's go 4 hour first. 4 hour, there was a situation in here where you, after this great leg higher, that it came back down to this 1800 supporting this level of resistance, and now it's attempt to make a new high, but it didn't do it. You ran out of breath, all that kind of stuff. So you run out of breath, you get it back, or you rest, basically. You need a successful correction, and any type of higher low is what's important, and that's what's the case here. This low is lower than this one, so a higher low in this case. And now it's made that statement in this particular 4 hour period. So thus, I want to see it hold. See, before, after broken here, I wanted to see it make hold like somewhere around, would say like a higher low, like around 1917-ish or whatever, which it did. It held and stayed above that level. Now that number is increased. So we've had to move up here. I really want to see a major pierce below where it is. So we're looking at about 1968-ish area. That I'd really want to see this hold on this level. And whenever I see a move that goes to this high, has had a good breakdown like this, I want to shorten the time frame out. And hopefully what you want to see happen on this situation is for it to take about 5, 6, 7 periods, establish some levels of resistance, and then show a setup that it's ready to break out above. But when these things are ready to go, they go. As you can see in here, who was to say, oh, this thing is, you're telling me again, what's the chances that this thing in the next period is going to have a very big move? And I'm going to say it's okay because of its trend of being up like this, but that's the only reason why. It's definitely not in the setup to go higher, and oh, it did. So you always got to realize with these crypto markets, when someone just comes in ready to buy at big levels, that doesn't matter what the chart looks like. They're just going to buy, and you're going to see a massive green candle. 15-minute time frame. We can see it's got a major level of support established already. That's established at 2050. This resistance is like a curve line going down. And we can see it's in the range of 2091 to, so high 20s, low 21s, between 2090 and 2010 is the major level of resistance. So we've seen several periods on the 5. Therefore, getting above at this current level, if you see this thing at 2114, 2121, I think I would be expecting at least that of 21 high, but I'd also be expecting like 22 high, 23, 24, or some great leg higher. Breaking down below this level of support, you're probably going to have a fast move. And it's going to be probably, I'm going to say a pierce below the 2,000 number, but at least to around 2K as where it would go. And it would probably be relatively quick. And AID, have you heard? It's got a really interesting setup, but it's still doing nothing, and it's not going down, but it's definitely not going up right now. What's the 4-hour term look like? It's like stuck in a range between 984 and 1032. That's a differential of like 4% for the last week. But it's maintaining a nice little trend. Let's move on to No Limit Coin 2. And this thing is just a magnificent moving coin. Daily chart has come back to this previous high. The high on December 27th was 4.25. The high in this section, 423. 2 basis points lower, matching high. Pretty much every day is up. But when you look at this pattern, first you got the January 31st huge move that went from well below the 18 average of lows to noticeably above the highs and closing near that of the 18 lows again. So it made a statement. It's really got to hold this. Like at this point, you have this low of back then of about 160. You'd have this high at 291. You really want to hold a 61.8% down retracement, which technically kind of did. I'm not going to calculate it, but it's 200, sure. And then as we see this day here, February 3rd, it was really the start of a good 3-day event, 4-day event, 5, 7-day event of markets going higher. But it got up to this previous level of resistance. It came back. It obviously didn't come back down too far. This day in here showed a lot of potential because it didn't go down. It stayed well below, noticeably above its previous day's high, but a good sized green candle showing momentum could very easily be coming in. And as I've talked about, breaking these levels, good gain. And it did that, breaking that level on February the 5th. Nice green candle, then the sideways, a nice choppy move in here, but another higher high. So it managed to break this level at 295 and establish at that point a level of resistance at 388. And then hold like a pause move, and then momentum further higher after the pause move. Continuation today of that momentum higher, making a new high. Thus, the temporary high at 388 at that point got deleted or changed to 423. Thus, we're at this retest of this area and that situation that I do not like. And that is trying to predict, how is this resistance going to be? Because I've seen so many times where this is just an amazing sell opportunity and it's going to go way down. And then you see, we go down to 300. We're going to find support. Up to 350. Down to 240. Down to 130. I mean, I'm not saying I think that's going to happen, and I don't. But I realize that's one of the situations. And it can have a deep correction, maybe come down to 272, maybe make like a cup and handle formation. But I don't know how likely that is either. And maybe just a small correction, come back down to 323. Possible. And maybe it'll just hang in there sideways, like range between the like 350 and 420 for 5 or 7 days. That could happen. But this thing, if it breaks, because obviously just gonna go. And that's how I look at that. I realize that selling at like 445, not the greatest of plays. Selling at 48, a little bit better. But the next level of resistance, yeah, you got 500 into like, I think 500 is a conservative level for just a small pierce above. But this thing has the potential breaking this level of resistance, of having a big move, especially when you look at the grand scheme of things, even going back from this little breakdown in here, where you have this, and then you have this move, and then you have this move. It's like a triple bottom almost. But I think it really has to get above a much higher level for this triple bottom to break out. I'd say 500 to me would be closer to a more better neckline for a patternish kind of thing. It's just a strong pattern for this play, and this play to break this. Let's shorten this out now, 4-hour time frame. So we see within this move, there's a big play in here, coming back to the 18 amazingly. And this is why I keep using it. The 18 works so magnificent. Front weighted, highs and lows. I don't need the close because it's just in the middle. I realize it's in that area. So here's this retest of this level. I love this correctionary move in here. Getting it above here. Again, the 18 in this point is correcting. Has a small little attempt in here, quickly giving back its gains, but successfully holding 336. And then the attempt to break out at 1900 hours, making the new high, now back down to the 18. The 18 average of lows is in a 352-ish area, which is a match of this level of resistance. It's done well so far. If it gives it back and we say have support at like 300, so be it. Or even a pierce below 275, 300 might be conservative. Because in such a case like that, oh, you're just coming back down here, meeting up with the 18. How normal and common is that? And again, like I say, at that situation I don't like or to predict. And I'm going to finish this off within DGB. And it's doing a combination of already flattening the band out and looking like it wants to attempt to get to establish a break or like higher, or attempt to revert the trend. For right now, this is just 2 consecutive days of a good pierce above. 2 consecutive days. 4-hour term time frame. Just got this interesting, amazing rally that had its price correction, but quickly brought it back to where it came from. On the single-hour time frame, not as quick, viewing it from such, but still quick enough. We see a spot in here where you have your move. This is the 18 doing its job, and that's why as a trader you see this and, okay, where do we want to come back from? Well, first of all, you're looking at this. It should just be obvious that 252 is your spot. And then when you adjust it to in here, we can see 252 would have been playing for that move, a miss. That's why when I talk about playing conservative numbers, and conservatively would have been in this area here, you would think, with this congestion point in here. And even for that matter, even like 256 as a conservative level. But regardless of how it played out, it supported this well. It made its attempt to get the bull market going. It failed as of now because it matched previous high. So now it's correcting this move. And we can see before how this was the leg higher to here. Well, now I need to see a higher low from that last one. So far, it's came down to 260. So that qualifies. It can break it microscopically 260. If it comes down to, say, 258, which is 2 basis points lower, it's still close to 1%, but either way, it's a higher low. So at 257. If it comes down to here, then I'd be thinking maybe more that we might be doing range-bound market between 254 and 267. But again, all it is an attempt. I've been doing hockey picks. The All-Star game and the bye weeks together was not a thing I enjoy as far as it's just so difficult. A lot of the plays I was kind of leaning towards didn't do so well. So I'm not too anxious to get back into the full throttle of things. But I am making myself a one unit bet or a min bet. It's just the price where Vegas has given the Los Angeles Kings absolutely no respect playing the Boston Bruins. I got plus 210 on the money line for the LA Kings. Plus 210 money line. They're playing amazing hockey right now. Boston's playing good too, and they're at home. I just think that the price should be closer to 150, 160. So if I'm getting over plus 200 for something that should be around plus 150, I think it's a solid enough bet. But given that it's just after the break, I'm just going slowly getting back in the flow of things as I usually would like to do going into the start of a season where I just don't like to bet the first month. Thank you for tuning in. Have yourself a great day.